Now it's time to talk box office. This week, if you don't already know, there was one movie that came out this weekend that came out day and date streaming on both Peacock and in the movie theaters, and it actually surprised me on how well it's doing in the box office. So, without further ado, let's talk about the box office with this breaking news. As I said, we get some big news this weekend coming out of the box office because we do have a movie for the first time on a day and date streaming on Peacock and in theaters. It seems like it still did really well in theaters, and it kind of makes me wonder how well it would have done if they had not done this Peacock release at the same time. Let's look over at Box Office Mojo and we'll look at this week's box office. This weekend, we've got Five Nights at Freddy's coming in at $78 million at the box office. Guys, that is phenomenal. And not only that, it is the biggest, I believe I saw the report, this is the biggest release that Jason Blum has had with Blumhouse Studios in the theater for an opening weekend. And that's phenomenal for them. Now, with that said, I don't particularly think this is a great movie. I didn't enjoy this very much when I watched it, but I understand there are a lot of fans of this game, a lot of fans of this franchise, a lot of people that were really excited for this, and they caught all the little Easter eggs throughout that I didn't catch because I don't play these games. And a lot of people really enjoyed this. Right now, at Rotten Tomatoes, this thing's sitting at like close to 20% or something. Last time I looked with critic scores, and it's like in the 70s to 80 for an audience score. So obviously, it's working for a lot of the fans of this franchise. And of course, for someone like me, it just didn't work. And it's not just because of the concept of what it is. It's, to me, the story, the editing for this movie, I thought was real clunky, to say the least. I went into this thinking this was going to be kind of like a toned down horror movie. It's not that whatsoever. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and review this movie. I just think it's crazy to me how well this did at the box office, knowing all the things that were stacked against it. I mean, this is a movie that had they didn't allow review embargo to come out till the day the movie came out. They released it on Peacock and in theaters. I mean, all the signs of this movie's not going to work were there, and yet the fans came out. They went to the theaters. They saw this movie there, and we're looking at a $20 million budget for a film that made $78 million domestically opening weekend. So it did a phenomenal job. Kudos to Blumhouse and all of the team that put this movie together. Universal, fantastic job getting this at least advertised well enough to get people into theaters. I do wonder how well those legs are going to hold up, though, knowing that this movie is available on Peacock, because you're not going to get repeat viewings, I don't think, as much, because they're going to go back home and watch it at home. And I wonder about word of mouth because of low critic scores and stuff. And I mean, if I were a voting critic on this right now myself, it would not get a high score for me. So I wonder if some of that word of mouth is going to be negative toward it. But for the casual fans anyway, the fans of the game franchise, I absolutely see going out to this and enjoying this. So those are just some of my concerns with that. Number 2 this week, dropping down on its third weekend finally from number 1 to 2. That is Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, made another almost $15 million this weekend. This movie's made like $150 million gross domestically so far. Fantastic for this movie, this concert movie. People are still going out in droves to see this, and that's crazy to me. Those are the Flower Moon gets another $9 million this weekend, putting it at 40. This movie is not going to reach its budget. Unfortunately, I'm very sad about this because I've heard a few good things. Now, I've heard some rough things about it too, with some of the. It's one of those movies that just kind of beat you down as you go, and I never did get a chance to go to theaters to watch it. Honestly, 3.5 hours just sounds like a chore to me to go to the movies to watch for a slower movie like this. I need to break this up into a couple sittings. So I'm waiting on Killers of the Flower Moon myself, but it is sad to see it making so little, knowing the talent that's in this movie, whether it be the breakout with Lily Gladstone in this, or Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro. I know Jesse Plemons, Brendan Fraser make appearances in this. So that cast alone, it's sad. And directed by Martin Scorsese. Fantastic. It's just, not making the money that you would think it was. And maybe it's because of that runtime. I'm not sure. It's only made 40 million so far gross. I know this thing had like a $200 million budget. So not looking great for that. We'll look at the worldwide here in a minute, but as of right now, that's where it's at. After Death in its first weekend made 5 million. Exorcist Believer still on the top 5 list with 3 million. That one's made almost 60 million now. That's pretty impressive for a horror movie like that. Paw Patrol still hanging in there with another 2 million, up to almost 60 million itself. So Paw Patrol doing well. Freelance in its first weekend was a 2 million in only 2,000 theaters. That's pretty good. Nightmare Before Christmas, I think it's the second weekend back in theaters this week, and another 2 million for it. So that's pretty cool. Saw 10 at number 9 with 1.6 million, and The Creator with another million for it. Another one that was just hit hard for a big blockbuster type movie to only be less than 40 million domestically. It's that hurts. All right, let's look at the worldwide box office numbers and see if we can find some of those movies that are on this list through here. Let's see. Yeah, Paw Patrol's up to 166 right now. That's crazy. Trying to find some of these. Exorcist Believer at 120. Creator a total of 97 million worldwide. That's still not getting there, but let's see. Killers of the Flower Moon, 84 million worldwide. Oh, there it is. Eras Tour. She made it up to number 20. She's made over 200 million now. So that's about where I said last week that I thought she would fall at and stay. So I don't know. She may have a chance to overtake Dungeons and Dragons at 19 before she's out of this theaters, but I'm not sure. That's gonna be tough to get to that. It'll be close. I don't see her getting up to Sound of Freedom though. All right, so that's where those movies are lying at right now. What do you guys think of the box office? Are you surprised with the results this weekend? Are you happy to see something like Five Nights at Freddy's getting that that number 1 spot this weekend? If so, let me know in the comments. Love to know your thoughts on all of that.